Hello, I am Dr. Catherine Kelly. I am a holistic health psychologist and a soul healing expert and specialist. And I want to talk to you today about what are the signs that the soul needs to be healed. Now, oftentimes we feel stuck. Oftentimes we have roadblocks. Oftentimes we have these times when we cannot move forward or we keep repeating patterns. And this is why I want to talk about this topic today, is to help you understand that sometimes it is the soul that needs the assistance. So, a broken or fractured soul, is that possible? Yes, we can actually have a wounded or broken soul. How does that happen? Well, we have things called soul wounds that happen, soul injury. We can be fractured at a soul level. And so some of the ways to know that a soul might need healing have all to do with how we express ourselves in the human condition. We all want to feel like a vibrant soul. We all want to feel like this, but sometimes we don't know how to get from one place to another when it comes to soul healing. And it's so important for practitioners and coaches and educators and administrators to understand, and the public to understand why it is that we stay stuck. So it's important to note that soul wounding can occur at any time in life. So from the womb to the grave, if your mother has had some sort of trauma or something very stressful happening while you were in her womb, you could still have absorbed some of the soul wounding. You could have really absorbed some of the stress. Same thing all the way up to the grave. If you've had a very tragic death, if you've had a very tragic illness before a death, a lot of times we carry those wounds into our existence in the next lifetime. So that is something to think about. Wounding can also carry over from lifetime to lifetime. So for an example, if you have an unexplained fear of something and you don't know where it came from in this lifetime, a lot of times that means there's something from the past lives that you've experienced that you've carried over. Same thing if you have an instant fear of someone that's unexplainable and you've never met that person before, but you have this instinct that there's something that does not feel comfortable. It's very possible that you have run into them in a previous lifetime and that's just your soul's way of warning you that there's something else going on. Key signs that the soul is wounded. Number one, feeling stuck in the past. So when a person isn't able to move beyond a betrayal, a relationship, an accident, a very stressful event, anything that wounds them at a very deep level, it's a sign basically that the soul is wounded. It's not just the human that's wounded, it's something deeper than that, because you can go through all of the therapy, you can go through all the treatment, you can go through all the coaching, but if you feel stuck and you keep going back to the past, you stay stuck, you haven't moved forward, then there's probably a deeper wound there. Now, in psychology, we talk about it in terms of arrested development, but you can also have arrested development as part of your soul. So your soul can actually stop evolving when there is a wound. And that is something to think about if you are trying to get unstuck or you're trying to get someone else unstuck and you're trying to get them to stop focusing on the past and living from that place. That might be what's going on. Also, a return to the past. Now, what's the difference between staying in the past and returning to the past? So this is when a current event, something big or small, triggers something to go back and relive something in the past. Now, that is theoretically the idea of PTSD. However, you can go through all kinds of treatment to heal PTSD and still relive the experience. And so there's something deeper going on. It's that energetic imprint. It's that energetic imprint on that essence of who we are that stays there until we know to remove it. That can come up in emotional reactions, and oftentimes they are disproportionate to the current event. And that is when we know, okay, there is something deeper going on. And again, it could be from this lifetime or previous lifetimes. When we ruminate over and over and over again about the past, it's not just an intellectual or cognitive thing. A lot of times it's an interactive or a very energetic kind of thing. Also, when we hold deep regret is the worst betrayal to our soul from ourselves because it means we've done something that we really didn't want to do. And so regret is a big sign that we have some sort of a soul wound. Another way of knowing if there is a soul wound there is that we repeat old patterns. We do it over and over again. So it could be the same types of relationships. It could be the same kinds of decisions, the same kinds of reactions or habits. It's like Groundhog Day. When we keep doing something over and over again and we've tried everything to get past it, it usually means that we have to go to the soul level in order to heal it. Another form is that when a person knows that there's something deeper that's happened, but they don't know what it is. So there's a sense of knowingness about them. So their soul is basically cueing them in to know that there is indeed something else going on. But from a human level, they can't figure it out because they may not know it from this lifetime or previous lifetimes. Also, it's that nagging feeling. It's that feeling that there's something deeper going on. Sometimes it's a suspicion that certain things or people have something to do with that wound. And so it's not necessarily just a paranoia, it's that sense of self that's coming forth to basically say, yeah, there is something going on here. So I also talk about the 10 branches of the human condition that can help you more strategically understand if there is soul wounding. Now, I created the soul health model many, many years ago to help people understand what it will take to get them to feel well. But you can also use each and every one of these branches to take you down the path of understanding and detecting, is there something within each one of these branches that is causing me uh, to have a glitch in my system, to not be able to move forward, to feel like I am stuck, or to feel like I'm emotionally wounded still. And so this model can actually help you in many different ways. I talk about soul health in terms of seeking our unlimited light, healing every aspect of life through harmony of body, mind, and soul. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate this because the whole idea of we have to clean out the darkness, we have to get to the bottom of whatever it is that is wounding us in order to fill up with light, fill up with that harmonious kind of feeling. But we have to get down to our light. We have to get to our soul again. But when it is feeling darkened and dampened, then that means that there is a soul wound there. Now, I'm not going to walk through the human aspects of each branch, but I am going to go through very quickly some of the soul aspects that could be having an effect that you might want to look for. So I'm going to bring these other human factors up here. But really, I want to help you think about from a physical perspective, unexplained illness or symptoms, some sort of chronic illness that, again, nothing can be explained about. Strange sleep patterns or dream patterns could be a part of soul wounding. Unexplained fatigue, I call this intrinsic tiredness. So when there's just this drain on your energy, it could be that your soul is so fractured or wounded that it can't keep up with the stressors of the human condition. If there's a quick onset of something unusual, particularly after a stressful or traumatic event, that too, it can look very human, but if you can't resolve it, it's probably very soul based. I'm going to take you down the psychological branch here. Again, those are all the human levels, but from a soul level, a lot of psychological concerns, like most probably psychological concerns, often stem from past life trauma or some sort of soul trauma in general. Now, I have a book series called the Soul of Psychology series. I've written the depression book, I've written the anxiety book. This current book that I'm working on is trauma. Grief is coming next. But really, most psychological concerns have very soul-based components to them. So whether it's from this lifetime or previous lifetimes, it's really important to start understanding that that is what keeps people from healing if they're only using traditional models of care. PTSD can be exacerbated by soul wounds. Relationships come up because of soul wounds, personality patterns, and sometimes personality disorders, resilience or lack thereof. So, people can't understand why some people are resilient and others are not, and it all has to do with the state of the soul. Social branch, it is not just about the warm bodies in our life. It is basically about what those soul connections are. So if we have an uncanny attraction to a particular person, meaning almost an obsession, then that's probably some sort of soul wound that needs to be healed. Cultural mismatch, and I call that the cultural mismatch because sometimes we just don't feel like we fit in, and it's because we're not around soul group members or soul family members. Relationship patterns can very much be karmically based. So we can have these very uncomfortable relationships and we don't realize that the sticky nature of them has all to do with the karmic nature or the life lessons we're supposed to learn. Soulmate relationships, twin flame relationships, a lot of times these are here to stir us up and help us evolve and help us heal. So we can have these karmic soul to soul wounds that are based in these relationships that need to be healed in order for us to heal this branch of our human condition. The interpersonal branch has much more to do, you get back here, has much more to do basically with the interpersonal nature. So we can have the warm bodies in our life, but it's the dynamics that we have with them. So again, I focus primarily on the soul-based aspects. So what are the dynamics that are happening in your relationships? What are the patterns? Because those are probably all soul-based. Karmic ties, soul to soul relationships and connections. Again, the type of dynamic, the type of relationships we tend to hold with friends and families and partners, those all have to do with who we are as a soul. Separation anxiety and under attachment to people can also be based in our soul wounds. It can be much more based in who we are as a soul, the wounds we've experienced, than it is with our human condition. And then challenging relationships overall. Now, I can't tell you the number of people I've worked with that have had very difficult relationships with bosses. And I've had to help them see the karmic nature of it. And once they see the karmic nature and understand what it is that they're supposed to evolve beyond or outgrow, then those relationships either change or they move on to a different job and they never have that problem again because they've learned what they're supposed to learn. Intellectual, occupational, again, this is not just about the brain, this is about our souls. We could be drawn to or away from certain fields or careers because of what we've experienced in the past or past lifetimes. Unexplained fogginess can also have to do with soul wounds, how we see the world, how we experience the world. If we are clear enough from a foggy level, I think about this tree, and if this tree is pretty wilty, we're going to have a hard time with clear thinking. Attention issues sometimes have to do with soul wounds. Same thing with career or job hopping. If we can't commit to something or we haven't found our life purpose, a lot of times that is because our soul is involved and needs some sort of healing for us to go to that next level. Environmentally, having an attraction or an avoidance to a particular place may be soul based. Clutter on the inside means clutter on the outside. So if the state of our soul is pretty worn down or burdened by the human condition that has not been healed, then we are likely to have an external environment that is not healthy either. Fear of certain circumstances. So things like claustrophobia, agoraphobia, flying, anything to do with the environment that we have concerns about are probably a deeper wound. That energetic imprint is triggering us to have those reactions. And it very well could be from a past life experience or a early life experience, but it's a soul-based. It's deeper than the body or the mind. It goes much further beyond that. Financial branch, we can go into this. Anybody who has had a sense of fear of having money or not enough money may have that fear of poverty, but when it's unexplainable, when it seems to be disproportionate to what has happened in this lifetime, you know that there is something that has happened at a soul level that is keeping you from feeling comfortable in life and feeling like you have enough means. Fear of being mugged. If you've never been mugged in this lifetime and yet you have a serious fear of that, having your goods taken away from you, having things ripped from you, a lot of times that's past life trauma. Fear of losing a job without any factual knowledge of why that would be happening. That could be part of the soul based and that could link to other things. Fear of money itself, that is another form of a soul wound. If you are afraid to have money, well, then there's some reason, there's some fear that has been embedded within you. The spiritual branch, again, I think about church hurt or God trauma. So many people have been wounded by the experiences they've had in religions, and so many people have gotten angry at God for what has happened in their life. So there are soul wounds that can be connected to that as well. Sexual branch, I tell people sexual trauma cuts deeper than any other form of trauma because it hits us at the soul level. Some people have a fear of sex, even though they've never had a negative sexual experience in this lifetime, and it very well could be because of past life experiences. That could lead into unhealthy sexual activity, unhealthy sexual boundaries. It could be anything that is related that doesn't explain itself through the human condition. Recreational branch. Now, this might seem a little strange and I do this playfully, I drop these in playfully on purpose. Some people have a fear of leisure, have a fear of fun. That could be astrological personality. That could be anything that's happened previously that has programmed you in such a way to believe that you cannot be at leisure. Workaholism can be actually a deep-seated wound that you have not worked hard enough in previous lifetimes, so suddenly you've come into this lifetime working harder. Extreme guilt, that can be a soul wound as well. Difficulty having laughter or joy in your life, that could actually be a soul wound and not just an inability to find joyful thoughts in life. So we go back to the soul health model and we realize each and every one of the branches of the human condition could have some sort of a deeper basis for why it is not healthy. And that is where we go to the soul. We have to go to that soul-based wound in order to understand that. So, to understand a person fully, you must understand how soul wounds might be playing a part in the overall experience of life. So, whether you're a practitioner, a coach, an educator, an administrator, if you want to understand the deeper levels, you may need to get some extra education about this. And like I've mentioned before, I have been working on certifications to help people understand how to integrate the soul into their work. And I would love to have you join me at one of them. I'm going to be launching these very soon. So go to www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com, go to the Soul Scholars tab. You can add your name, it will go on my email list, or you can go straight to the certifications link that is listed here. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening, and expand your thoughts a little bit about how the soul might be a part of healing that needs some attention. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.